Welcome, everyone. My name is Josiah Kitonga, and I am the Managing Director at California State PTA. Thank you for being here and for being ready to be a champion for arts and education in your local community. Before we begin, we need to provide some instructions for translation service. Simultaneous interpretation is being provided in Spanish. Everyone must pick a language. Please click the glow button at the bottom of the screen and choose your preferred language. If you choose Spanish, make sure to mute the original audio. Thank you.
Buenos días, gracias por acompañarnos y apoyar a el arte en la educación. Vamos a estar proporcionando esta versión de la presentación en español de forma simultánea. Le pedimos que por favor siga las siguientes instrucciones para entrar a su canal. Si nos acompaña a través de una computadora, apague, prenda o aprima el globo terráqueo en la parte inferior de su pantalla. Elija español y apague el audio original para solo escuchar una voz. Si nos acompaña a través de un teléfono inteligente o tableta, apriete los tres botones, los tres puntos y la palabra más para acceder a la interpretación. Seleccione español y apriete done o finalizado para activar la acción. Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi. So we're here together this morning because we all know the following. Firstly, we know that scientific studies consistently highlight the transformative impact of arts education on student learning and overall success. We know exposure to visual and performing arts correlates with increased attendance, reduced dropout rates, and heightened achievement in literacy and math, particularly benefiting English language learners and economically disadvantaged students. We know that arts education cultivates essential 21st century skills, including creativity, critical thinking, and collaboration. We know social emotional learning through the arts aids students in navigating personal challenges, addressing mental health, and fostering empathy in an era marked by growing polarization. We also know these things. It is our job to make sure everyone in our school community understands this, from school board members, your superintendents, principals in your district, to the parent or guardian of every student in the district. Recognizing the many benefits of arts education highlights the urgency of prioritizing arts education now. Slide number 3. The event today is presented by a coalition of organizations who want to make sure all students receive the benefits of an arts education. California State PTA, who I am with, Friends of Sacramento Arts, Arts for LA, the Arts Education Alliance of the Bay Area, and Create California. Here is the agenda for our time together today. We're going to hear from AS students about the importance of arts education advocacy. Secondly, we're going to learn about case studies from schools and districts about the state who are using Prop 28 funds to increase access to arts education. We're going to understand the critical components of arts education programs. And lastly, we're going to take action together to support arts education. It's now my pleasure to pass the floor to my colleague, Dr. Veronica Alvarez, Executive Director of Create California.
Thank you, Josiah. Bienvenidos a todos. Muchas gracias por estar aquí. I am very grateful to all of our partners that Josiah just mentioned, the California State PTA, Arts for LA, Friends of Sacramento Arts, and Arts Education Alliance of the Bay Area for their collaboration and thought partnership on the advocacy tools and actions we will be offering today. As Josiah mentioned, I'm the Executive Director of Create California as of 3 weeks. So I'm pretty new, but I'm so excited to be here. It's such an exciting time to be an advocate for the arts. The passage of Prop 28, the Arts and Music in Schools Act in November 22, has created enormous potential for the expansion of arts education in our state. We need these funds to make much needed progress toward achieving equity in arts education for all of California's 6 million students. Every parent, family member, and guardian here today have an essential role in engaging with school leaders to ensure the new funds are used to expand current arts education programming and to help deliver a high quality, culturally relevant arts education to all of our students. We at Create California are grateful for your advocacy, and we want you to know that we will support you. I am so pleased to introduce you to a student who is here today to share how the arts have impacted his life and why he wants you to take action to support Prop 28. Michael Ballerite is a student at UC Irvine studying music and political science and is a member of the Create California Youth Advisory Council. Thank you for being here today, and thank you, Michael, for sharing your experience with us.
Thank you, Veronica. As she said, my name is Michael Ballerite. I sit on the Youth Advisory Council of Create California, and I'm just incredibly excited to be able to bring my story to you all and to advocate together for Prop 28 and arts education in our state. That's the reason why we're all here, because we're all advocates we're concerned for the future of arts education. We're concerned for the place of arts in our children's schools and in schools across California. What it means for where I'm from? Well, I'm from a sleepy little city in the middle of the Central Valley called Modesto. And where I'm from, arts is a cornerstone of our community culture. You can't go a single day without passing by an art gallery, theaters, orchestras, bands. You hear them everywhere, you see them everywhere. There's not a single week where there's not a school putting on a choir concert or a theater performance. Arts education contributes to the very soul and the very experience of students, families, and everyone in our city. But how can we take that beyond the canvas, beyond the stage, beyond the band room? Arts education, in my experience, has not just been a gateway to self-expression. It's been a gateway to civic engagement, more so than traditional methods. I've been able to use my arts education, my connections to communities and organizations passionate about the preservation of the arts and the celebration of creativity to build connections with local civic leaders, statesmen, local businessmen. It can be a foundation for future careers inside and outside of the arts. We can allow students to engage with their community in new and innovative ways. That's the beauty of our arts, because we become so creative that we can build bridges between communities, between people, not just for ourselves, but for the things and the people that we care about. So, what can families and parents do? Arts education is unique in that it is community-based. I encourage you all, after this webinar, to go to concerts, art galleries, stage dramas with your children. Go to local businesses and listen to that jazz band playing in the cafe. Encourage your children to do the same. I was very fortunate to have a family, to have parents that encouraged me to go out there, show myself. I'm a vocalist, and I sing with many different organizations in my city, and I've been able to use that to build bridges with local leaders and make sure that education, and specifically arts education, remains preserved. After you go to these places, after you've brought your children to these incredible opportunities to showcase the arts, encourage your school officials, administrators, most importantly, teachers to help support. You don't know how important it is for someone in high school, in middle school, who's out there playing in the band or making that art piece or performing in that choir, performing in that stage drama, to see their teacher, even see their principal, administrators in the audience. It's those little things that help build support for the preservation of Prop 28 and for the preservation of our arts education in our communities. Support for efforts to expand using Prop 28 is so crucial because oftentimes it's community-based campaigns that go back to the local community and help support local artists. In my city, schools have been able to use Prop 28 monies to go back to our local opera company. And in turn, our local opera company puts on productions that have helped, and studies have shown this, local studies, that have helped improve literacy in our own city. Arts education is so unique in that it becomes the crucial cornerstone, the crucial thread that builds our children's education as well as our own place in our own communities. The arts is beautiful because when we support one of us, we support all of us. And that is what I'm asking of you all today. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael, for providing a student's perspective on the importance of advocacy and grounding us in why arts education is so important for students. Good morning. I'm Abe Flores, Deputy Director of Policy and Programs here at Create California. And I'm here to talk a little bit about Prop 28, just really big level, just some main takeaways that I think are important for all of us to know. Prop 28 was passed overwhelmingly by voters in 2022, 66%. That is a huge margin, with the intention that these funds are meant to be used to expand arts education for all public school students. This is statewide permanent funding source for arts education, meaning all pre-K to 12th grade public schools receive funding, ongoing funding in perpetuity. Low-income students receive additional funding. These funds were meant to increase access to arts education, meaning more students should receive more arts with these funds. These funds have a 80-20 requirement, meaning 80% of funds are to be used for staff, where 20% for materials, equipment, training, and partnerships. And there's also an accountability mechanism to Prop 28. Schools must develop expenditure plans, how these funds are going to be used at the school site, and districts must submit reports detailing how funds were spent. And there's also an expectation that communities should have input on how funds are spent. Next slide, please. So there was a report that SRI Education, with the funding of Hewlett, the Hewlett Foundation, a big supporter of our work, came out a couple years ago and found that although arts education is in the education code in California, and it is a requirement that every first grader to 12th grader have access to all the art forms, all music, visual arts, dance, and theater. This report found that only 11% of California schools actually meet this requirement, with low-income students receiving about half as much as more affluent students. So this is a wonderful document that was developed by our wonderful communications manager, detailing a lot of our resources are on our website. I know we're going to get into actions a little bit later, but this is a really great place to start in terms of actions, is summarizing. And I know that there's big questions that we receive always around Prop 28, and the big ones are usually around how much money is my child's school getting? And you can look that up on the CDE Prop 28 website, and I believe we're going to be dropping the link there. You download the final Excel sheet titled Prop 28, Arts and Music in Schools Advanced Allocations. And there are a couple of tabs. Look for the school site tab, and you could look up your child's school and what the allocation is. We also get questions of how do I know how the money is being spent? Well, there is that accountability requirement where every single school site needs to detail how those funds are spent. And so you could ask your school leaders, and we'll be providing some additional information at the end with calls to action of how to actually get about getting that information. So now on to this new resource that we worked on with a couple of partners. And one of our wonderful partners is here that worked on these case studies. So these case studies our profiles are part of a series highlighting various school district efforts to develop quality arts education programming for their students. These profiles intend to support school districts in generating ideas for effective arts programming that school leaders can implement with Prop 28 funding in different contexts. We have a couple of new ones. We've had we released some earlier this year, and these just came out about a month or so ago. And these new profiles highlight how some districts have used Prop 28 funds to expand arts education. So I'm going to go over, just provide everyone a brief, but I encourage you all to link and read through them. So the first new profile, Mariposa County USD. This district is a one district county in the heart of California's rural landscape, just outside Yosemite National Park. And this profile highlights the power of partnerships. Although the district's population is small, partnerships across several different entities within the district have resulted in arts programming that serves a community need and benefits students, families, and the community at large. Our next new profile, Green Dot Public Schools, network-wide arts programming. This charter network's mission is to help transform public education so all students graduate prepared for college, leadership, and life. And they have recently hired a charter visual and performing arts coordinator to help prioritize arts education within the network's vision. Green Dot is one of only a few charter school networks that funds this type of position. They are working to increase centralized support from the central office around arts programming. The next profile, Live Oak School District, effectively using a VAPA-TOSA, a visual and performing arts teacher on special assignment. This district, located in South Santa Cruz County, California. Live Oak District consists of 3 elementary schools, 1 middle school, 1 charter school, and 1 alternative online school. In this small community, Live Oak School District has been working to fulfill its mission, empower, inspire, and ensure equitable opportunities for every student to thrive, including equitable access to arts programming for all their students. The district has made a strategic investment by employing a visual and performing arts teacher on special assignment. This position has been critical lever for the district to ensure arts are prioritized. And finally, San Gabriel Unified School District, the power of a strategic plan. San Gabriel Unified School District established an art strategic plan in 2019. This strategic plan was largely spearheaded and led by the district's VAPA program administrator, Samantha Tyson. Although Tyson led this effort, the community was deeply involved in creating the district's art strategic plan. The community is engaged and excited about supporting art education across the district. This profile showcases how the district went through a strategic planning process to support all of its students in receiving art education in their school and highlights the important role of their VAPA program administrator. And so I encourage you all to read and to share these profiles and to share promising practices within your networks. And now we're very lucky to have Letty Krause, Director of Statewide Arts Initiative at California County Superintendents, with us today. Letty is going to help us be informed and knowledgeable advocates by sharing what goes into a quality arts education program and sharing resources for families. Letty, off to you.
Thank you, Abe, and thank you for the introduction. The first thing I want to talk about today is what are the parts that make up a strong arts education? So if we were to think about arts education as a machine, we could break it down quite simply into 6 parts. And so I want to talk a little bit about what those parts are and why they matter and how they connect to Prop 28. So starting with the first part, which is staffing, and Abe just talked about staffing a little bit. He highlighted how some of those districts that are profiled are having a single person as a teacher in charge or an administrator who is overseeing the arts and how arts is being implemented in that particular district. So the staffing portion of having a strong arts education program cannot be underestimated. It starts with having that lead in the office. Then we also can't ignore the fact that staffing includes our credentialed teachers, that we need credentialed teachers who are able to teach all 5 disciplines so that all students have access. And so one of the great things about Prop 28 is it provides 80% of the funds are meant to go towards this staffing. And that's because it recognizes we need those people to help ensure our students like Michael, get what they need for their arts education. The other thing I want to highlight here is this idea about placing a priority on scheduling and how important scheduling is to ensure that all students have access to a standards-based curriculum. And so we want to make sure that does the student who takes band, are they having to make a choice between being pulled out for special services, perhaps some extra help, or are they able to go to band, or are they able to get both of what they need? So we want to make sure that scheduling makes sure that we're not taking students out of arts in order to get other basic services. All students deserve arts, whether they're receiving extra services or support or not. All students should have arts. It's what keeps them engaged in school. Then also other components include facilities, and facilities goes nicely with safety. By having a proper facility for students, we also help ensure their safety. So you can't just drop a student into a dance class that's on a concrete floor and say, run around and dance. They need safe facilities in order to safely do their art. And also, of course, we know that arts, materials, and equipment. So if you're going to have a media arts program in your school, are you going to also make sure that students have access to the state-of-the-art equipment and learn the current media arts skills that they need to learn? So I would just say that if you want to think of it in a very basic way, this graphic makes it easy to say, I want to ask some questions at my school. Who is staffing the arts? What is the curriculum? Is it based on our new standards that are cutting edge and nationally recognized? Are there scheduling issues? Are all students having access to the arts classes they need, etc.? So let's go on to the next slide, please. Now, we know what the components are. We can make them into 6, and that's nice. But also, you need to have a plan, right? So we know the voters passed Proposition 28, and we're very happy about that. But I think also you would agree with me that voters deserve a plan. So this is money that's coming, not just once, but perpetually, forever. And so we want to make sure that there is a plan for how this money should be spent. We want to make sure that each year it's not a new project. Oh, what to do with this arts money? And this is really important. And this is really where I think parents, families, communities can make a big difference with their schools. So, this slide just breaks down the process of developing a plan into 5 steps, including establishing a team. It's important to note that community members should be part of that team, and student voices are needed too. So students should also be a part of a strategic planning team. It's important to assess what is currently offered. What are the gaps? Are we offering music? Do we need to offer more music, or do we need to offer dance instead? So what are the gaps that we need to address in our current situation? And then, of course, we want to establish a policy. So we want to make sure our school board knows that there's a policy. If new funding is coming in, we have a policy to address it. We know what our goals are with the arts. And so the monies that come in or any other opportunities are tied to a district policy. I can think of one recent example of where this policy basically saved the district's plan altogether because the board knew the policy and made sure the plan was implemented. And so then, of course, you would present your plan, and then you would implement your plan and evaluate progress. So those are some very simple steps for developing a strategic arts plan. Next slide. Now, I just want to mention a few questions that might be asked during the planning process and sort of talk about how they tie back to Proposition 28. So, like I said, asking the question, what arts disciplines are being offered? And equally important, what do students want? Do they want more of this or do they want new offerings? What do students want? Who has access? Who does not yet have access? Is the instruction aligned with standards? And the California PTA has a great document that we're going to give you a link to that is all aligned to our new standards and provides sample questions that parents might ask related to each grade level that their students are in. So it's a nice guide and it's really helpful when you're thinking about what other questions you want to ask. And I'm not going to read through all of these questions, but one I want to really highlight here is what funding is currently being used. Because Proposition 28 money is not the only pot of funding that should be used to support the arts. Proposition 28 expands what we have, but we should also be using additional funds, including federal and state funds, to support our arts programs so that we have a well-rounded approach to funding our programs. I also want to highlight again this on the bottom, can students progress from elementary to middle to high school? Very important. We want students to have arts in the elementary. We want them to go to middle school and specialize or explore a new art form. And then when we get them to high school, we want them again to be able to specialize or learn something new. Very important, keeping them engaged from all the way from kindergarten, well, transitional kindergarten, all the way through grade 12. Next slide, please. So I just want to end just by adding like one statement about why this is important. Strategic planning is what ensures equity. It ensures progress to offerings for all students in every discipline. It is protection from arbitrary decision making. It is and as I just stated earlier, it ensures that a student's entire journey from preschool all the way through grade 12 is full of the arts and supported. It supports their well-being. It supports their career development if this is something they appreciate. And I can't overstate how important it is to ensure that you're engaging in planning and you're planning around those 6 areas. And with that, I'll turn it over to Adelaide.
Thank you, Letty. Thank you so much for being here and for that wealth of information you just provided us. We are very, very grateful. Well, hi, everybody. I am Adelaide Kuhn, and I'm Program Director at Create California. And I'm here to close us out with a couple of things. I want to start just by making it very clear what your role is. Parents, families, guardians, everybody on this call has a really crucial role in ensuring Prop 28 is successful. And as it says on this slide, your role is to connect with school leaders and ask what their plans are for Prop 28. It's your role to share your thoughts, what you think would be beneficial to your child. And then ask clear questions about how the money is being spent. There should be clarity. You should be able to ask and receive a clear answer about where this money is going and how it is expanding arts education at the child's school site. So with those questions, I really encourage you to be a helper, to be a thought partner, offer support. A lot of these resources that we have shared in the chat and that we will receive via email next week as a wrap up from this event, a lot of those resources you can share with your school leaders. There's a huge range of information that school leaders have right now about Prop 28. Some of you will be connected to school sites who were early adopters. Last year, they made their plan, they started spending the money, they're already rolling. Another whole group of you may have school leaders who have never heard of this and really need support in becoming informed, coming up with a plan, engaging the community in the planning process, and getting started in the process. So just emphasizing, huge range, wherever your school site is, that's okay. Luckily, they have you there to help them. So Katya, you can skip over to the next slide. Thank you. Okay, we are going to take action. I'm going to pause for just a second, probably not a whole minute. A whole minute on these things always feels like an eternity, but we're going to pause for a minute-ish. And I would like you to write down the names of 5 people that you will talk to, share information with about Prop 28. So pick up a pen, write down on a piece of paper. If you'd rather just pull up your email right now, do that, and type out 5 people that you're going to share information with, because we are in a phase right now where information sharing is key. We want as many parents, families, and guardians to know about Prop 28, understand Prop 28, and be able to encourage their school leaders, push school leaders to expand arts programming as possible. So I'm going to stop talking, take your time here, and come up with 5 people you're going to share this information with. Okay, I'm back. Wasn't a full minute, but I think it was enough time. I'm going to put now in the chat links to flyers that are a great resource to share. So like I mentioned, you'll be receiving this big old email with many, many links. You can just forward that email on to those 5 people, or you can take a look at these flyers, and maybe that's something that you could bring to a PTA meeting. I don't know if, my child's school has an app, and you're able to share information by uploading, this kind of flyer to an app and share it with parents that way. Whatever mode of sharing you find best is going to be valuable. Okay, next, we're actually going to send letters to our school leaders. So again, please take a look in the chat and follow that link. This is a pre-populated letter. Put in your address, you'll see the letter, and it is information sharing, includes links to tools for school leaders. So this letter will go to your superintendent of your district and the school board members of your school district. So please, again, I'm going to pause for a second. Please follow that link, put in your address. Feel free to add, you can add your own message or just click through, and this will ping to their inbox, and it'll be an important reminder to focus their attention on Prop 28. Let's do that. Okay, our final action that we are going to take together is around reaching out to your principal. So there's advocacy on 2 levels here. We just advocated at the district level to the superintendent and school board members, but school site advocacy is also extremely important with Prop 28. So please reach out to your principal. There's a link in the chat. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom of that page, there's a series of questions that you can ask your principal. And this might be an email. You might include the questions in an email. You might be able to snag the principal at pickup or drop off and start the conversation there and then follow up with an email. Maybe you show up at a coffee with the principal type event. There's a lot of different ways to bring this topic up. Find the one that you feel comfortable with and pursue that. So thank you so much for taking these 3 steps. Before we move on to some more resources, I do want to just share that advocacy takes time because implementing high quality arts education programs takes time. So school leaders have a lot on their plates and a lot of competing priorities. And so it's really important to offer them grace and support in this process while also making it clear that you have your eyes on this. You know that this money exists and that it should be impacting your child's education. So all of that to say, this is going to take advocacy takes patience and perseverance. It's not an immediate thing, but I'm so happy that you were all able to take a first step with us here together. Okay, let's keep going. Thanks, Katya. Okay, so here is another slide with lots of resources. They're linked in the deck, which you'll receive, but I'm also putting them in the chat. So the first is the California Department of Education website, and that has a wealth of information. There is a frequently asked questions section where if you really want to get into the nitty-gritty of this is the link for you. Lots and lots of information. The Tools for Advocates site is a suite of tools that was created by all of the partners putting on this webinar. So we all work together to create these tools. So there's the one pager, there's a short video, which is a really great thing to be able to show at the top of meetings and sort of gets everybody on the same page about what Prop 28 is. There's social media posts with copy. There's the questions for the principal. I'm sure there's other things that I've forgotten on there, but it's a really great sort of one-stop shop for advocates focused on Prop 28. The Know Your Rights page is a great place for you to get a baseline understanding of what your rights and your child's rights to an arts education are in the state of California. Tools for School Leaders is a toolkit that is, if you are in this camp of folks who maybe their school leaders haven't heard about Prop 28 or haven't started planning, haven't started spending money, that's a great a great resource to share with your school leaders. And then finally, a wonderful resource about teacher pipeline information. You may have heard that their school sites are having some challenges hiring teachers because there are not, we have this new money and there are not enough teachers to fill these openings, but there's some really helpful information there. So thank you. Thanks, Katya. And finally, I hope to see you at this next upcoming event. So this is an Arts Now meetup, which is a sort of an open community forum type setup of a meeting that Create California hosts, and really encourage you to come there if you have additional questions. So grateful to Allison Cagley and Dominique Enriquez, who have been busily answering your questions in the Q&A feature. Thank you both so much. If you have more questions or want to talk more, this is a great way to follow up, to join us at this meeting, which I have not dropped in the chat for you, but I will do that right now. That registration link, would love to see you there. It's like I mentioned, very open format. So everyone who attends the meeting, we decide what we're going to talk about. We populate a list of topics and then we all go out into breakout rooms. So if you want to ask more questions about Prop 28, great place to join us. And I just want to say thank you so much for being here. Thank you for advocating for arts education. Thank you for being committed to improving your child's education. And don't hesitate to reach out. If you can't make this meeting, please reach out to any of us at Create California, at any of the partnering organizations, California State PTA, Arts for LA, Arts at Alliance of the Bay Area, and Friends of Sacramento Arts. We are here to support you in your advocacy. And then I will just close by saying thank you to Heidi and Sol, our talented translators who are somehow able to keep up with how fast we are all talking, but really grateful to you. And just a reminder that next week, you'll have the recording of this webinar, you'll have all of the links, and please keep your little Post-it note or your email window that you popped up with your 5 people that you're going to share that to, and remember to share all of that information with them. Thank you all so much. Have a great rest of your day.